Assalamu alaikum, my friends. This plane that you are currently witnessing, which is about to crash, within it reside the world's most ferocious and truly terrifying husband and wife. Even though they are perceived by the world as secret agents, they are in actual fact incredibly deadly killing machines. They possess the power to eliminate anyone, no matter where they are located in the entire world. However, this absolutely terrifying plane crash completely and irrevocably alters their lives. But it's not just a simple change, their enemies are now relentlessly pursuing this husband and wife. So let's go and check out this absolutely mind-blowing action movie. Right at the very beginning of the story, we are shown a bustling city scene where we are introduced to our film's main protagonist, Matt, and his wife, Emily. See, they were a truly happy and loving couple living a peaceful life. But then, Matt suddenly receives an urgent call. From the other end of the call, he is told that he must steal a key, specifically one code ICS, from the residence of a powerful individual named Gore. And essentially, with that particular key, many significant things across the entire world can be controlled. So anyway, after that, the two of them begin to prepare themselves for their upcoming mission. Just by observing their actions, it was absolutely clear that they were highly skilled and expert in all these kinds of tasks. Anyway, right at that moment, Emily took her pregnancy test once more, and the machine displayed a positive result. So anyway, he doesn't share this particular information with anyone else. Following these, the two of them departed to fulfill their assigned mission. Meanwhile, Gore was in the process of celebrating his son's 8th birthday. After that, the two of them once again arrive at Gore's residence, intending to steal that crucial key. Just then, Emily points out that a children's birthday party is currently underway. Therefore, it would be completely inappropriate for us to enter this party armed with firearms. So subsequently, they both decide to leave their weapons securely in the car, and instead, they discreetly place small Bluetooth devices in their ears before proceeding into the party. Here, their boss, whose name was Chuck, was communicating with both of them through a Bluetooth device. Chuck tells them that the security of the place where that key is kept is extremely tight, and furthermore, the locker where that key is stored can only be opened with Gore's voice and his unique fingerprint. Additionally, Chuck says, expressing his trust, that I am leaving this particular task entirely to the two of you, and yes, please ensure that there are no problems or complications whatsoever. Upon hearing this, Emily confidently tells her both, "There's no need to worry, we will accomplish this task with absolute ease." Immediately after, Emily discreetly sprays a chemical solution onto her own hand, then walks straight up to Gore and proceeds to shake his hand. Then, after speaking with him, the two of them proceeded to the room where that particular ICS key was being kept. Emily, with the chemical spray she had in her hand, successfully captured Gore's fingerprints. She then carefully took them out and placed them onto the machine. At the very same time, Matt recorded Gore's voice using his personal smartwatch, and he played that voice right in front of the locker. And because all of these crucial elements perfectly matched, the locker opened up with remarkable ease. And now Matt spots the ICS chip, and without hesitation, he quickly picks it up and tucks it away inside his jacket. Because of this action, the emergency siren immediately begins to blare loudly once again. Upon hearing the piercing sound of the siren, the guards quickly arrive on the scene and launch a frantic, uncoordinated assault to apprehend both of them. Subsequently, Matt and Emily manage to completely overpower and knock out all the guards, successfully making their escape from the area. Jack then summoned them to a secret hideout where his agent Baron was again waiting for them. The moment Emily sees Baron, she immediately recognizes him. This is because Baron used to be Emily's ex-boyfriend. So regardless, Baron meets up with both of them and then gets them seated on a flight. Emily and Matt are now comfortably settled in their seats on the plane. And because this particular mission had been successfully completed, Matt was absolutely thrilled. So he promptly tells the flight attendants, "Please bring some drinks for the two of us." But Emily says, "No, don't even bring me any drinks. I'm not going to drink." Hearing this, Matt asks Emily, "Why aren't you going to drink? What's wrong?" Then Emily showed Matt her pregnancy test kit and announced, "I'm pregnant." Hearing this news, Matt became even more overjoyed. He then told the flight attendant, "Please don't just make me a single drink, bring the entire bottle. Tonight I'm going to drink to my heart's content because I'm about to become a father." Just at that moment, Emily suddenly felt nauseous and threw up again. So she quickly runs towards the washroom, but the flight attendant tells her that the washroom is out of order. You won't be able to go inside. Then Emily asks, "What are you saying?" On an 11-hour flight, there really should have been a proper bathroom. Just then, the flight attendant grabbed Emily and, holding a gun to her head, told Matt, "So, give me that ICS key you're carrying right now, otherwise I will simply blow her brains out." So Matt immediately takes out the key, and to distract the flight attendant's attention, he throws the key in another direction. The moment the attendant runs to pick it up, just then Matt suddenly grabbed him from behind. He then picked up a bottle and struck the flight attendant's head with a really severe blow. After that, the rest of the attackers also arrived there, and a truly dreadful fight broke out among all of them. Yeah, then both them, Emily and Matt together, managed to thoroughly subdue everyone present. Suddenly, amidst the chaos of the ongoing fight, the flight attendant quickly gets to her feet. She snatches a firearm from the ground nearby and points it directly at Emily. Matt instantly sprints towards the flight attendant. Just as she is about to pull the trigger, Matt shoves her forcefully, causing her shot to completely miss its intended target. The bullet doesn't do enter at Emily, but it goes straight and strikes the pilot who was flying the plane, and the pilot dies right there. As a result, the plane goes completely out of control and it rapidly begins to fall towards the ground. The flight attendants, seeing the IC's key, immediately pick it up in their hands. At that very moment, the plane struck a mountain and crashed. Matt began searching for a parachute to save himself, and fortunately, he managed to find one. Habitato. Then he gave the parachute to Emily and said, "Quickly jump from this plane. Take care of yourself and our baby." But Emily wouldn't listen to him. She would never leave her husband and escape like this. So as the plane began to fall towards the abyss, Emily hugged Matt tightly and released the parachute. Then they both safely landed on the ground. That's when Matt tells Emily, Boti, look, we should really quit this spy work because we're having kids and it's time for us to settle down and build a beautiful family with children now. Hearing this, Emily replies, but look, espionage is our entire career. What will become of it then? How are we going to make a living? Matt then says, everyone will think that the two of us died in this plane crash, and this is a really great opportunity for us to start a brand new life. I truly believe that God caused this accident for our own good. As for me, I have absolutely no one in this world, but you are fortunate enough to still have a mother. You might have to completely cut off all ties with your mother, perhaps forever. Besides that, you don't really have a good relationship with your mother. So why don't we two start a brand new life, away from everyone? We'll surely find a way to make a living anywhere in the world. After this, Emily completely agrees to start a new life with Matt. And then we see the scene 15 years later, where the two of them have started their new life. They now have two children, a son named Leo and a daughter named Alice. Leo really loves to play video games. On the other hand, Alice was a girl with a very fiery temper. The relationship between her mother and Alice was not going well at all, and they would constantly argue over one issue or another. Emily then proceeds to make breakfast for her two children. And then Emily and Matt head out to drop their two children off at school. On their way, we see Alice in the car, once again drinking a cold beverage. Seeing this, her father scolds her, saying, drinking cold drinks first thing in the morning is absolutely not good for you. It can really upset your stomach. Anyway, after that, they drop off their two children at school. There, Alice immediately went to meet up with her friends again. But Emily and Matt were spying on their kids like secret agents. Emily sees a boy holding Alice's hand and they're about to kiss. Seeing this, Matt says, look, we really shouldn't be spying on them like this at all. This is their own life. They should be allowed to live their lives exactly as they please. Right at that moment, Alice calls them and asks, what exactly do you think you're doing? See, are you spying on me like a detective? This is really bad. Anyway, after that, the two of them reach home. So, in the evening, Emily was very angry after seeing her daughter's behavior all day. Just then, her eyes fell on Alice's laptop, which was repeatedly receiving messages from someone. Emily immediately picked up the laptop and turned it on, only to find it was locked with a password. Emily was trying desperately to unlock the laptop, but it simply wouldn't open for her. Just then, Matt walked in and asked Emily, what exactly are you doing? Emily then replied, I have a feeling our daughter didn't actually go to her friend's house. She must have gone out somewhere with her boyfriend instead. Matt then said, look, this constant detective work of yours is exactly why Alice gets so upset with you. Our children must never ever find out that we were once spies. Just then, Emily's hand accidentally brushed against the laptop and a sticker peeled right off. Underneath it, the laptop's password was clearly written. Emily immediately typed that password into the laptop and instantly the system unlocked. And then then the two of them proceeded to check all of Alice's friends' messages. As they carefully read through the messages, they soon discovered that Alice had gone to an event called Chemical Apocalypse. When Leo hears the name, Chemical Apocalypse is from behind. He tells both his parents that Chemical Apocalypse is a very bad club name. They sell a lot of drugs and alcohol there. Hearing this, Matt and Emily immediately track Alice's location and head straight for the club. Upon arriving, they see Alice dancing and drinking with her friends. Emily and Matt immediately went straight to Alice and said to her, "You have to come home with us right away." Then Alice asked, "Why can't I stay here?" My friends have parents too and they don't forbid them from coming here. So then Emily says again, "I don't want to hear any more talk. Let's go home this instant." I just then some hooligans show up and start making fun of them, calling them old and filming them. But Emily and Matt paid no attention to it. Later, as Emily was walking with her daughter, a rogue boy suddenly grabbed her daughter's hand. This made Emily absolutely furious and she grabbed the boy's head, slamming him forcefully to the ground. Just then, another rogue boy appeared and attacked both of them. After that, Emily and Matt thoroughly beat up those rowdy boys, then forcefully threw them to the ground and began making their way home with their daughter. While on their way back home, Alice questioned her parents, asking, how exactly did you two know that I was here? Emily then replied, "Aida, we found out you were here by checking your laptop." Alice then angrily exclaimed, "You checked my laptop? You won't with you all anymore. I'll quickly finish my graduation and move to some distant college." Then finally they arrive home, and upon reaching home, Alice asks Emily and Matt, "You guys beat those boys to a pulp, but where did you learn to fight so incredibly well?" Then Emily tells Alice a lie, saying, "We actually took martial arts classes in Japan." And because of that, those rowdy boys received a really thorough beating today. Anyway, the very next morning, Matt was quietly sitting there reading his newspaper. It was then that his house's doorbell suddenly began to loudly ring. Matt opens the door to find their old boss, Chuck, standing there. The same man who 15 years prior tasked them with stealing the ICS key from Gore's house. Matt asks Chuck, "How did you get here to Tanir Toyon? And how did you even know that we were staying here?" Then Chuck showed them the video that those rowdy boys had filmed last night during the club party, and they had uploaded it onto the internet, which caused the video to go completely viral almost immediately. Chuck then explained, I understood from watching this video that you two were staying here. And in precisely the same way, this video had also reached Gore. And he is searching for you and could arrive here at any given moment. Then Chuck asked them about the ICS key. Emily then says, "My name is Chaita, boss. It was lost in the plane crash. But we know nothing about that key now." Chuck then tells them both, Mailapati Baron, who was my agent, actually set a trap on the plane that day, attacking you two to steal the ICS key. And now he's working with Gore. The two of them could come for that ICS key from you at any moment. Just then, suddenly, someone shot Chuck from behind and he fell into the bushes, dying instantly. All of a sudden, a large group of thugs arrived there and began to fire bullets like rain upon both their houses. But fortunately, their children were at school studying at that time. Emily and Matt, dodging bullets, quickly reached the garage and as they got into the car to escape, the thugs immediately started attacking their vehicle. Consequently, the car lost its balance and then crashed into another vehicle. The thugs then opened the car door only to discover that no one was inside. Suddenly, Emily and Matt came crashing out, breaking down the house door with their car. And they managed to trick those goons and escape from the place. The goons then immediately start to chase after them, trying to catch them. In the midst of this, Matt tells Emily again, "I actually have that ICS key with me." Emily then asks him, "Why didn't you tell me anything about that key for all this time?" Matt then explains, "I didn't want that ICS key to fall into the hands of any bad person. So I didn't tell a single soul about that key." Then Emily asks Matt, "Alright, where exactly have you hidden that key?" Matt then explains, "I've carefully hidden that key at your mother's place in England because I was absolutely convinced that no matter what might happen, no one would ever think to search for that key at your mother's home." Just then, the thugs fire their guns, shattering the side window of their car. And just as those thugs and snipers are about to reload and fire their second round, at that moment, Matt uses the cold drinks like a bomb. He throws the bottles filled with cold drinks at the thug's car, and as soon as the bottle bursts, the thug's car goes completely out of control. And it goes and slams straight into a truck that was standing by the side. Then it's violently flung into the air and falls down. The child and mission rhythm somehow managed to escape from the hands of the thugs. Following this, they both quickly arrive at Alice and Leo's school, and then taking the two children with them, they immediately make their way to the airport. At this point, Alice asks, "Mom, why have we suddenly come to the airport? I thought, us." "And where exactly are we going?" Then Emily replies saying, "We're heading to your grandmother's home in England." Upon hearing this, both children were quite surprised, and they asked their mother, "Mom, you always told us that our grandmother had passed away a long time ago. What are we suddenly going to her house for today?" Then Emily says, "Your grandmother was an extremely difficult and bad-tempered person, and I never wanted to make her a part of our family. The reason that I mentioned that I told you both some lies about my mother. She didn't actually pass away." After that, they went and took their seats on the plane. Bound for England. And Matt inspects the plane thoroughly and then informs Emily, "No, there are absolutely no issues with the flight." So regardless, the very next morning, they successfully make it to England. And keeping themselves hidden from the people around them, they went and took a seat on a bus. But Baron had already found out about their presence here. Baron then sent the port turbine, then proceeds to the airport and immediately begins to scrutinize the airport's CCTV cameras. He then realizes that they have actually managed to exit the airport with the help of their fake passports. Then Baron tells his team, "You have to find those two people no matter what it takes." Meanwhile, Dale on the very bus where they were seated, one of Gore's men was also present. He immediately calls Gore and informs him that all of them are currently on this bus. At that very moment, Emily observes an elderly gentleman carefully parking his automobile, and as the old man finishes parking and steps onto the bus, Emily with great cunning manages to steal the car keys right from him and then immediately hands the keys over to Matt. So, when the children now are quite something, the children ask about that car. Matt tells them, "This is our rental car, okay? So after that, they all get inside the vehicle. And now Emily takes her two children's mobile phones from them. She then proceeds to remove their SIM cards and completely breaks them. This is done so that no one will be able to track or trace their exact location. Soon after, the car's fuel began to run dangerously low, and the children too were feeling incredibly hungry. So they decided to pull over at a gas station, and Matt gave the kids money, saying, "While we're filling the car with gas, go get something to eat." Then, as the children went to the restaurant to eat, Alice spotted the passports. They didn't have their names on them. Instead, they had someone else's. So, upon seeing this, Alice immediately comprehends that these passports are entirely family. The fact that is entirely counterfeit. Both of them become quite astonished upon examining their own passports, and they then begin to murmur amongst themselves, realizing our parents must certainly be concealing something of great significance from us. They keep its own and to see the police, they left their own country and came here to England. It was then that Alice realized Leo's gaming device could actually run the internet. Following this, the two young children began an extensive search on the internet, hoping to find any information about their parents. Meanwhile, Emily and Matt were busy formulating a plan for their next course of action. It was at that precise moment that Gore's people arrived, launching yet another brutal attack upon them. Matt, without a moment's hesitation, uses his lighter to ignite the petrol flowing from the pipe, and he begins to spray the burning petrol all over the bodies of the goons. Consequently, the goons immediately catch fire and begin to burn right there on the spot. Emily herself begins to take down the thugs one by one, and when the children witness their parents fighting the goons like this, they are completely astonished. At the same time, Beth says, Baron himself, using Leo's gaming device's internet connection, discovers the specific petrol station they are currently at. In addition to this, the husband and wife together kill all the people of Gore and somehow manage to escape from there with their children. Just then, Baron arrives and once again starts chasing them. Nat shoots breaking the chain that was securing the cargo loaded onto a truck. Consequently, all the goods started tumbling out into the street. And then Matt fired another shot, successfully puncturing the truck's tire. As a direct consequence, the truck immediately went completely out of control and it ended up blocking the entire road. So Baron fully moving forward and taking this chance that they escaped with the family. Meanwhile, the two children, scared, asked their parents, "We teach us, who are you really? And who exactly were those thugs that you just killed? What in the world is actually going on here?" Then Matt says, "Look kids, your mother and I were what they call quick reaction non-official cover operatives, which essentially means we were underground agents. who were working with the CIA. This meant that the two of them were actually very significant spies. And when Leo heard this information, he became incredibly happy. And he asked his dad, "Dad, would you be able to beat up my friends' fathers like this?" Hearing this, Matt replies, "Yes, we would be able to beat them too, but we've stopped doing those kinds of things now." Amidst the father and son's conversation, Emily interjects, "Just forget all that." How did they actually find out about our location, that we're here at this petrol pump? Just then, Leo blurted out, "Well, we actually used a couple of gaming devices to search for you on the internet to find out who you really are." Matt then snatched that gaming device right out of Leo's hand and hurled it into a passing truck. Sayeto akte aktap, so that one, even if they wanted to, could possibly find their original location. Emily now takes them directly to her own mother's house, and when the children see their grandmother's incredibly large house, they are completely amazed. Suddenly they hear a gunshot, and then they see a bird fall right before their eyes. Right at that very moment, Emily's mother appeared before them carrying a rather large gun, and upon seeing her own daughter, she became incredibly delighted and overjoyed. Then Emily, pointing to her children, lovingly told her mother, "These are your very own beloved grandchildren." Her mother then responded, "Yes, I have certainly seen them in photographs before, but in those pictures they were so much smaller. Look how much they've grown up now." Emily then asks, "Where did you manage to get their pictures from?" Matt explains, "Actually, I used to send their photographs to your mother through a completely different server. This was so no one could ever track us, and your mother could still know everything about our children. After that, everyone goes inside the house, and the children are absolutely delighted to see such a large house." Just at that moment, a man stepped out of the room and his name was Nigel. Emily's mother then announced, "He is my boyfriend and he actually lives here with me." Everyone present was utterly astonished when they heard this. So, Anyway, then Emily's mother introduced Nigel to all the guests who had arrived at their home, and referring to the children, she announced, "These are my grandchildren." Nigel was absolutely delighted to see the children and immediately took them along to give them a full tour of the house. The Baron, through persistent tracking of the location, eventually arrives at the specific truck into which Matt had carelessly thrown their children's gaming device. Due to this, Baron is unable to pinpoint their exact location. Meanwhile, Matt informs Emily's mother, "I had carefully hidden that specific ICS key right here, and today I have returned to retrieve that very key." Following this, Matt takes Emily to the precise spot where he had previously concealed the ICS key. At that very moment, armed thugs arrived right in front of their house gate, and then they proceeded to bomb the gate, completely blowing it open and violently forced their way inside. Meanwhile, Matt had cleverly hidden that crucial ICS key, deep inside an old, securely locked wine cellar. The moment they came out with the key, they heard a helicopter descending from above. They quickly ran through the kitchen and into the house. Once inside, they found Nigel and Emily's mother held hostage. Emily immediately untied her mother's hands, and her mother gestures, telling them, "You must keep an eye on the children." Then, just as they go to search for the children, at that very moment, the thugs completely surround them and point their guns directly at both of them. Emily asks, "Where are our children?" One of the thugs then replies, "Your children are in the living room." Immediately, the two of them rush into the living room where they find the two children, their hands and mouths tightly bound, held completely hostage by the thugs. The two of them tell the thugs, "Please, can I take this key right now and just let our children go free?" Just then, Chuck suddenly appears there, and the very moment they both see Chuck, their minds are completely blown. Their world just falls apart because Chuck, that very day, had been shot and killed right in front of their house. Here is Yonti. When Baron and Gore launched an attack on our home. Yes, so you were shot then and you fell dead right there amidst the bushes. So tell me, how is it that you are still standing here alive today? Then Chuck replies, "Abiana, why on earth would Baron ever attack your family's home? But agada, hunta, kinami katera paranalshi, achiday mushaila police officer diga." The truth is, I lied that day hoping Baron and Gore would work together. Then Chuck reveals the entire truth to both of them. The bullet that struck him was actually a dummy round. It was his own people, his own men, who had fired it at him. It was Chuck who orchestrated the attack on Emily and Matt's house for the key that day. Chuck then pointed a gun at both of them and took that ICS key. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Emily's mother, having escaped from the thugs, managed to reach the cupboard. She then pulled out her own gun and started firing at the thugs. She then quickly grabs the oil that was lying nearby and deliberately pours it all over the floor. As the other goons approach her, they immediately begin to lose their footing and slip. Emily's mother then seizes this opportune moment, taking full advantage of their unstable position, and begins to fiercely beat those goons with various kitchen utensils. Amidst all this chaos, just as one of the goons is about to raise his gun and fire, at that very moment, Emily's mother strikes her hand, causing her aim to completely go astray, and the bullet flies directly, striking Nigel right in the shoulder. Consequently, Nigel immediately begins to cry out loudly in agony. And at the sound of the scream, all the goons' attention immediately turned towards the kitchen. That's when Emily and Matt found the perfect chance to launch a surprise attack on those unsuspecting thugs. And without a moment's delay, they quickly overpowered the men, knocking them forcefully to the floor, then seized their weapons and aimed them straight at Chuck. Chuck went in an attempt to save his own life, would apparently, but at that Chia uses the children as a human shield and then proceeds to make his escape from that location. At that very moment, from behind, the a group of thugs deliver blows to their heads, resulting in both of them falling unconscious on the spot. Then Chuck ICS takes the key and the children and leaves the precise deeds from here. A little while later, both of them regain consciousness, and then Emily sees her mother. Emily asks her mother, "Have you seen the children?" Her mother replies, "Yo, I was in the kitchen." And when I arrived here, I found both of you completely unconscious. After that, everyone decided to check the house's CCTV cameras. They saw that when Chuck was taking the children away, Matt noticed Leo gesturing something in front of the camera. When they zoomed in closely on Leo's hand, they finally understood that he was pointing at the ring on his finger. It's then that Matt remembers that his ring has a GPS device attached to it. They immediately log into Leo's account on the computer and begin to track his GPS device. And that's when they learn Chuck has arrived at an art museum with two children. Then Matt and Emily put on their suits and head to the museum, and they then realize the security there is very strict. So the two of them discard their firearms in a dustbin and proceed to enter the museum. Meanwhile, Chuck demands a significantly higher amount of money from Gore for that specific key. Gore then states that he cannot afford to pay such a large sum. Consequently, Chuck refuses to hand over the key to Gore and promptly hangs up the phone. At that point, Gore instructs his men to retrieve that ICS key from Chuck by any means necessary. After this, Chuck summoned some buyers from London to sell that ICS key. He then asked his potential clients, "May I now demonstrate to you the immense power of this key?" Following this, Chuck instructed his hacker, "Alright, now I want you to switch off all the lights across this entire city." Immediately, the hacker, utilizing that very ICS key, completely extinguished all the city's lights. Seeing this, all the customers are absolutely astonished. Then Chuck instructs him, "Please turn off the lights right here in the museum where we are." At that moment, the hacker proceeds to switch off all the lights throughout the entire museum, and then Chuck commands, "Now turn all the lights back on again." Immediately, the hacker complies and switches all the lights back on once more. Meanwhile, Emily and Matt notice Chuck's people are going up in the elevator. The two of them quickly step inside the lift and begin to ascend with Chuck's men. Meanwhile, Chuck shows his customers a barrier time deployed to demonstrate more power of that key, through which Atlantic Ocean water cannot enter this city. Chuck says, "Look, now I will open that barrier because I have the ICS key. With this, I can control any large object." And then Chuck instructs his hacker to quickly open that dam. The hacker immediately begins the process of opening the barrier with that key. As a result, the barrier slowly starts to give way and open. And with the barriers opening, absolute pandemonium breaks out among the Navy. They couldn't comprehend how such a massive and devastating act had taken place. Matt and Emily ascend, arriving on the upper floor via the elevator. However, Chuck's men are already there. Preventing the two from proceeding any further. Because of this, Matt and Emily began to beat Chuck's men one by one, giving them a severe and thorough thrashing. Meanwhile, Chuck, trying to sell the ICS key, kept telling his potential buyers, "Look, whoever acquires this key, no matter who it is, will possess absolute control over the entire nation, because with it, they will be able to fully control every single electronic device and system across the whole country." He is now trying to determine the exact price from the prospective buyers. At that precise moment, their transaction with a single buyer was successfully finalized for a sum of $250 million. Meanwhile, as Emily and Matt were knocking down the thugs and heading inside, Baron suddenly appeared. Seeing Baron, they both became extremely frightened and pleaded with him, "Please don't arrest us, our children are still being held captive by Chuck and we have to save them no matter what." Hearing this, Baron replied, "I won't arrest you. we come to realize that you two didn't actually come here to sell this ICS key. Baron, joined by Emily and Matt, Kiki and the Sentetits, then sets out to capture Chuck. But the moment they open the door and step inside, Chuck's men immediately ambush them to prevent their entry. And then taking advantage of the attack, Chuck starts to escape. Then Emily and Matt begin chasing Chuck. They must catch Chuck at any cost to save their kids, but Chuck tells his men, "Take those children to the boat quickly." Then Chuck takes the children and flees down the river by boat. On the other hand, Emily and Matt were also relentlessly pursuing Chuck. Just then, the goons arrived on the scene, pointing their guns at both of them and began demanding the ICS key from them. Emily then stated that they did not have that key. Immediately, someone started aiming a laser light at those goons. Looking from another angle, it became clear that it was Emily's mother who had taken aim with a sniper rifle to eliminate those thugs. Just then, Matt warned the thugs that if any of them dared to make even the slightest movement, she would absolutely blow them all away. And taking advantage of this sniping situation, the two of them quickly seize the bikes belonging to those goons and speed off from that spot to pursue Chuck. But just then, more of Gore's men arrive on the scene and immediately begin to chase after them. Tenda. They both ride bikes expertly, taking down all goons. Then they get on a speedboat which immediately starts chasing Chuck. Chuck then calls his hacker, telling him to quickly bring that ICS key to the riverbank. And upon hearing these words, the hacker quickly grabbed the key and began to move towards the river's edge. However, Nigel was already anticipating the hacker's move, waiting there specifically to intercept him. The instant the hacker took that crucial ICS key, settled into his car and started to drive away, Nigel floored his own vehicle, accelerating to full speed and then violently crashed right into the hacker's car. As a result, the hacker there completely loses consciousness. Nigel, without any delay, powers on his laptop, and precisely at that instant, Emily's mother gives him a call. Nigel then informs her, "I'm now in possession of that vital ICS key. Siloda ba sa idem." Then Emily's mother tells him, "You must quickly shut down that barrier, otherwise the vast ocean water will completely submerge the entire city." Following that, Nigel attempts to close the barrier. However, some errors begin to appear on the screen and he finds himself utterly unable to close that barrier. So now, after struggling for a little while, he finally understands how the barrier is actually supposed to be closed. He immediately got to work on closing the barrier, and as a result, it finally began to slowly shut down. Meanwhile, Matt and Emily leaped from their own boat onto Chuck's vessel, then beat his goons and threw them into the river. As then Matt they see the barrier slowly closing. Then the two of them quickly put life jackets on their children and drop them into the river. After that, they both give Chuck a thorough beating, leave him on the boat and then jump into the river. And all the while, they both is speeding rapidly towards the barrier. And after colliding with the barrier, that boat itself completely exploded. As a result, Chuck tragically lost his life in that terrible explosion. Subsequently, the rescue team members worked diligently to pull the children and their parents safely out of the river. And so the story finally concludes right here. So how did you find this story? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Personally, I found it quite enjoyable as a one-time watch. The rest is up to your judgment. Please do let us know in the comments section. I'm leaving for today. Allah Hafiz.